Inspiration oftentimes strikes us at the most peculiar moments. Sometimes you're eating a sandwich and you ask yourself, what if this was ice cream? Other times you're browsing YouTube and you see a type of video. Can you beat this game with this constraint? Like a small stream bursting forth from a glacier into a mighty river, this veritable waterfall of content has enlightened me. It's shown me the path, and it's emboldened me. Why spend my time preaching my ill-informed opinions to the masses, when I can create something truly inspiring? Challenge videos. But if I'm going to take on this hurdle in life, then why not go all out? I'm not talking about seeing if I can beat a game with a paltry single item, or if I can struggle through with the weakest ally. No, I'm here to ask the real questions. To take challenge videos into a new direction, a new chapter. And the culmination of this thought explosion has led me to a single question. Can you beat Pokemon Red with only a full team of Mewtwos? My brave journey begins with us facing the daunting rough and tumble village known as Pallet Town. We awaken, our pockets packed to the brim with Mewtwo. Our goal is clear, the beacon's lit. As we step forward into the first blades of grass dotting the outskirts of the sleeping menace known as Pallet, we're called out to. It's unsafe. If only he knew the irony in that statement. I follow the stranger to his laboratory, his experiments pulsing and buzzing around us. Another child is introduced into this cruel world, goes by the name Assface. Not even the youth's name can escape the horrible machinations of the adults in this world. We're told to select an animal to use as protection. What? Oh. That's not how the challenge video goes? How does it go? Oh. Yeah. Yeah, I can, sorry. Yeah, I can do that. Sorry. Alright, so first we gotta talk about the stats of Mewtwo. So as you can see, we've got some okay stats here. But then you look at the defense and the special defense and you can probably understand why this is going to get quite difficult. We're looking at 90 for both of these stats, and that's just not going to cut it out here against a lot of these wild Pokemon. I'm hoping that we can roll some high defense for Brock in particular, otherwise his Geodude is just going to give us hell. Now let's move over to the type effectiveness. As a pure Psychic Pokemon, it's very apparent that Mewtwo got the short end of the stick. Never mind the fact that Ghost Pokemon didn't affect Psychic Pokemon at all, and that Dark type didn't exist. Think for a moment. Where are the most bugs situated at in this game? That's right, immediately after the second town in Viridian Forest. That's gonna be a bloodbath for our psychic friends no matter how you slice it. I fully expect to be knocked out many times, but I'm hoping that we get lucky and we're able to sneak through the forest. It's the bug catchers that I'm really worried about. So what about our moveset? Tell me there's something that can salvage this run. Well, if we look at the moves learned from leveling up, we can see that it's almost entirely bullshit from level 1 to 81, except for one move that's in there twice, Psychic. I think that we might be able to pull off this challenge if we can manage to hold on to Psychic and not accidentally overwrite it with another TM. Speaking of TMs, let's take a look and see if there's anything else here that might help us. Nah, this is pretty much all bullshit besides the one TM, TM29, Psychic. I think if we can wrangle that one down from the old man and Saffron, we might have a fighting chance. But Saffron is really late in the game, and we're gonna have to rely on our other psychic moves until then. Alright, now let's go over the rules. Rule 1, Mewtwo. I can only use that one, plus the other 5 Mewtwo's. Unless we run into a tree or a body of water, which we'll have to find a better Pokemon to bypass. Rule 2. No glitches or exploits besides the 6 Mewtwo's that I have on me nearly at all times. Rule 3. No items besides for move learning, bypassing various gates, and looking at ghosts. This means no healing, no repelling, no battle items, no moving faster with a bike unless necessary, no gambling, and no trading a bike voucher for anything besides a bike. As you can see, I've made this challenge pretty difficult. So let's hop in and see how it goes. I'll note that all of my Mewtwo names are randomized due to the nature of how I obtained them. Alright, so I'll skip all of the boring stuff and get straight to the meat of this challenge. Viridian Forest and Brock. Expertly dodging through bug catchers has the unfortunate side effect of running into more Weedles out here in the woods, which obviously won't let me escape when they smell the weakness of my Mewtwo squad through their big dumb bulbous noses. But miraculously, we do actually make it to the first boss of the game, Bug Catcher. The fearsome boy rocks a staggering level 9 Weedle. That's right, this paragon of Pokemon trading perfection has foregone evolution to keep his spiky worm in top form. This was honestly the part of the game that I feared the most, as my challenge nearly ends before it even begins here in the forest. But with some crazy RNG which allows me to move first and pull off a Psychic, I actually managed to win the fight and make it to Brock. If Bug Catcher was the appetizer, then Brock is the 7-course follow-up meal. The man is daunting, as is his Geodude. Because honestly, when I was a kid I always thought that Geodude's Gen 1 sprite looked like a rock's brains were bulging out. Anyways, our Mewtwo barely squeaks out enough speed to outspeed the Geodude, and lands the first attack, Psychic. Geodude goes down before the big guns come out, Onix. I switch over to Mewtwo in the hopes that I'll do a little better here against the towering Nightmare. Again, super lucky with RNG as I managed to pull off a Psychic before he can pull off his signature Rock Gym technique, the normal move Bide. Well, Brock never made sure to catch an Onix with the Sturdy ability, mostly because abilities didn't exist in Red. But still an oversight on his part as his Onix goes down Bideless. I continue through the boring parts before I eventually make it to Misty. Well, we hit a bit of a wall here as my Mewtwo's have gotten arrogant after lucking out on Brock. I have to switch to the younger of the herd here to defeat the Water Gem leader and her gang of jewel-encrusted sea stars. Unfortunately, the downside of the Psychic type rears its ugly head here, as it turns out that Psychic isn't good against Psychic. What a terrible typing for this challenge. Alas, I struggle onward through her Staryu before Misty sends out the most powerful water Pokemon in the game, 2 Staryus stacked on top of each other. This ultimate form is pretty hard to stomach, as not only is it faster than my Mewtwo, it's also extremely resistant to Psychic. I decide to switch tactics. I use the less impressive move here, Thunderbolt, which actually does a surprisingly fair amount of damage. It turns out that Gen 1 is so buggy that Psychic-type Pokemon are also weak to electricity. I'll have to keep that in mind for the next gym. So next up we have Lieutenant Surge and his gym where he makes kids dumpster dive for hidden switches. The issue here is that there's a tree gate sitting outside of this gym, meaning that I have to switch out a Mewtwo for a much more powerful Pokemon, a level 8 Oddish. I feel pretty gross having to taint a challenge this way, but the game's constraints just don't give me any other option here. After I get done bobbing for apples, I take on the region's military force in combat, and needless to say, it's no joke. I open with a little trick that I picked up partway through this journey known as Psychic. The veteran does not expect this inferior move, and down goes his Voltorb. He then sends out a Pikachu. I use Psychic, but then he tosses out a fatter Pikachu, which shirks off my Psychic attack before intimidating my Mewtwo with a Growl. The effects are immediate, and the status wards me off from thinking about using any other move besides Psychic. Again, his fat mouse practically laughs off my pitiful attempt at damaging it before unleashing a devastating electric move that I haven't seen in this game before. 12 health peels off of my Mewtwo's skin like tree bark before it barely squeaks out a Psychic attack, causing the triumphant rodent to fall to its own hubris. Had the war hero not underestimated my team, he'd have surely crushed it. More terrifying than a trained soldier though is Erica, with her literally countless tree gates. Again, my disgustingly powerful in comparison Oddish has to carry my Mewtwo squad through her garden before we can get to her. When we do, she sends out her man-eating monstrosity, which nearly destroys my Mewtwo with little effort. My finger is practically raw from having to mash the Psychic button as hard as I can, but the end result left me with a poisoned Mewtwo and little hope. Her Tangela follows up the assault with a terrifying Constrict maneuver, before falling to Psychic. 1 Pokemon left. Backed into a corner, I decide to use the one move that might get me out of this predicament, Psychic. The god of RNG is with me though, as I managed to pull off a once-in-a-lifetime crit to knock out her big flower in a single strike. I have to wonder if my game is glitched at this stage with the amount of luck that I've had. I limp out with my poison Pokemon clinging to life, praying that this is the worst thing that I'll have to face. Next is Koga. I use Psychic, but this is where the game puts its foot down, as I now must go look at ghosts, kill a single mother, and defeat a criminal organization. Assface makes another couple of appearances, and I'll spare you the amount of times that my whole team wiped to him. But Giovanni is a different story. The man is not happy with me somehow pulling off this ridiculous challenge so far, and his ground-type Pokemon laugh in the face of many of my moves, forcing me to resort to Psychic. It's a grueling battle, but I again somehow managed to struggle through it. I'm guessing at this stage all of that extra time I put into grinding levels is paying off, and as cheap as it sounds, it's a viable strategy. I'm guessing that I'll need my entire team at max level to completely win this challenge, but we'll see if I can do it with mere level 90s. So onward to Sabrina, who sports the easiest challenge in the game, oddly enough. You'd think they'd put her at the first gym just because she uses the weakest Pokemon type in the game. But it's definitely an even playing field for once, as her and I send Psychic after Psychic at each other. I eventually encounter a hitch in our battle though. My Psychic runs out. I never imagined this roadblock popping up in this run, and I have to think on my feet to adjust to the battle with moves besides Psychic. Well, I catch her off guard with this bizarre behavior, instead commanding my Mewtwo to hurtle its spindly frame at her Pokemon. Had she prepared better, I'd be dead as soon as Psychic ran out. Well, as if the game were mad at me because of my easy time with Sabrina, Blaine's gym rears its ugly head. Not only do I have to run through Blaine's cronies on my way to him, I also have no water moves. I really don't know how we're going to beat Blaine with 0 water moves, but I think so. After Blaine goes down, it's time to face reality. Giovanni isn't going to let me off easy here. In order to do this, I'll need to grab the tried and true challenge run saver, Double Team. Double Team is renowned for turning a run around, as its use decreases my opponent's chance to hit. I think it's the only Hail Mary that we've got in our arsenal to get us across the finish line, and I'm hoping that it will do the job. So onward to the daunting mountain of mob madness known as Giovanni. He does not go easy on me, and Double Team is tempting here, but Psychic's Siren Call causes me to surrender to it, making the battle that much tougher. Had I used Double Team here, this surely would have been an easier fight, but the masochist in me demands a challenge, and a challenge is what I promised you, the viewer. Against all odds, I miraculously claimed the final badge, making total victory that much closer. Let's take a look at our stats here and see what we've got going for us, if anything, for this final run. As you can see, our defense is abysmal. Our attack is subpar, our speed is okay at best, and our special is decent. But most importantly, our main Mewtwo's mental status is just okay, not good or very good. That's what worries me the most, as our weak mental state may just be the final nail in the coffin. Fortunately, the rest of my team has a burning passion as their mental state, and I think that kind of positivity is what we're going to need here. Alright, I'm not going to split hairs here. The Elite Four is the easiest part of the game. I've seen people bring in Digletts and Beedrills to defeat these idiots. Complacency is a real problem in the world, and Game Freak knew what they were doing when they put this troop of morons in charge. It really mirrors the real world with how underprepared these chuckleheads are, and it explains why Assface was able to trounce them with no difficulties. But yes, Assface on the other hand is a nightmare of a fight. And I won't lie, if it weren't for the sheer fighting spirit of my Mewtwo brigade, defeating him like I did would have been impossible. Every part of this team is a hard requirement to make this challenge work, and I truly would have been lost if I were missing just one part. So let's ask the question again. Can you beat Pokemon Red with only a full team of Mewtwo's? Technically yes, but no, probably not. I can't deny the results on the screen, but I also can't in good faith put this video out there without explaining that an unbelievable amount of luck is necessary to complete it. I mean, I got to move first a lot in this game, and the crits? Man, they were out of this world. Crazy lucky. I think if I didn't have the Psychic move, this run would have been game over from the start. Either way, stay tuned for my next challenge video where I attempt to beat Fallout New Vegas using only guns.